An already crazy weekend of college football is about to get that much crazier as two in-state rivals battle for supremacy inside the Conference USA. Coming up next here on Mean Green Game Day. Week 6 of college football is here, and it has arrived in big fashion. But this week, North Texas has a rival coming into town here in Denton, Texas, as the UTSA Roadrunners travel up I-35 to take on the Mean Green in just a little bit as we are live from Apogee Stadium, Mean Green Game Day, just outside Gate 4. I'm Kyle Yeomans alongside Drake Lawson, Kennedy Miller, and Ashley Pickle for our crew today. We have some sunglasses. As you can see, North Texas, the athletic department advertised well. They've got some new shades in their athletic center. Well, we've got some new shades up here as well, as we are ready to break down everything you need to know for UTSA and North Texas, a game that really the entire community, guys, is extremely excited about. I'm excited. I'm rocking some green shoes underneath. This is going to be a fun matchup to watch between two of the really top teams in the non-Power 5 schools in this entire state. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so other than that, let's move on to looking at last week's game. Southern Miss, actually before the bye week, Southern Miss, a team that North Texas really thought that was going to challenge them. And North Texas went on the road and handled them pretty well. 43-28 the final score there. First off, guys, what was your initial thought whenever North Texas was able to go on the road and get a victory like that one?
It was the coming out party for Jalen Guyton. I mean, am I right? 211 receiving yards. That's insane. I mean, we weren't even thinking about doing something like that, especially this early in the season. Knew the guy was special, coming from, going to Notre Dame, getting highly recruited coming out of high school. But, I mean, 211 yards, that's really crazy to think about. He was a big factor in the Giant win. The defense played well, too. They held them under 100 yards rushing. Again, that rush defense seems to really have improved the passing defense, so they can still work out a little bit. But, hey, picking up a victory on the road against Southern Miss, 43-28, that's a big victory.
I completely agree. You look at the last time that we had seen UNT before Southern Miss, they had kind of given up a big lead against UAB, and we talked about the resiliency of UNT to get punched in the mouth and to still respond with a win. This time, they end up scoring 26 straight points in the second and third quarters after trailing this Southern Miss team. Big ups to Jalen Guyton, also big ups for a career high for Jeffrey Wilson, 30 carries for 148 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I got 174 yards.
174 yards. I don't want to discredit you at all, Jeffrey. I don't want to take away any yards from you, Jeffrey.
I was going to say, my 2 words there, Jeffrey Wilson. Holy cow. Jalen Guyton did great. Like you said, coming out party for him, he did fantastic. But Jeffrey Wilson is one of those has been so consistent and just continues to just shock us. We were listening to the broadcast from Hank Dickinson and Dave Barnett on the Mean Green Radio Network, and it was like, Jeffrey Wilson with another carry. Jeffrey Wilson with another carry. And I was going, let's go, Jay Will. Man, that guy gets me so pumped, and I hope he does the same thing tonight.
It could be a fun one to watch. UTSA with a pretty stout rush defense. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I do want to go back to Jalen Guyton. And Drake, you just mentioned it, had an outstanding game. This is a guy who's coming out of Allen High School, a local kid, went to Notre Dame, then transferred to Trinity Valley Community College, where he put up some pretty gaudy numbers there as well before transferring here to North Texas. Is Jalen Guyton the best receiver in the entire conference? Because so far, he's been really showing that the talent is there and that the work ethic's there as well.
I mean, if we're going off of last game and if moving forward, you get better week by week, there's no doubt. I mean, I think we got to really see how he does against a tough UTSA defense. I mean, I know they're better against the run a little bit, but I mean, they're a tough defense no matter what. But if he plays well tonight, if he continues to get better every week, I mean, he's on a brand new team. Yeah, this guy could be the best in the conference.
Statistically, this guy is top 5 in every receiving category. He's top 5 in catches, yards per game, and he's tied for first in Conference USA with touchdowns. So when the question is posed, is Jalen Guyton the best receiver in Conference USA? I don't see why not. I don't. And with coming off a performance like that, Drake said it, They're going up against a tough UTSA defense. If he can get from 75 to 100 yards this game and solidify a win also, no doubt, no doubt.
See, and going off of stat-wise, I think he's number 3 in receiving yards in Conference USA right now. So stat-wise, but I'll tell you why that is. Is he one of the best receivers in Conference USA? 110%, I fully believe so. We also have Jeffrey Wilson. We have this dynamic offense, which is why we have the number 1 offense in Conference USA as of right now. Mason Fine can connect with Guyton. Mason Fine can also dish off the ball to Jeffrey Wilson. It's such a beautiful thing to have such a talented receiver and still not have him have the number 1 stats because we've got so many other options to work with. That's a well-rounded offense, and Jalen Guyton is definitely the 3rd string in that trifecta.
Yeah, and you guys kind of talked about it a little bit just then, but there are a couple different pieces in this match or in this offense that really make this thing run as well as it has so far. Jeffrey Wilson, Mason Fine, even he's kind of been left out because of what Jalen Guyton and Jay Will have been able to do. But what's the most important piece of this puzzle for a North Texas offense? Is it maybe Seth Luttrell, a Graham Harrell, or is it one of the playmakers that North Texas has on that Mean Green offense?
I mean, I think it's Jeffrey Wilson. I mean, I'm going to be honest. The offense runs through Wilson. When he has a good game on the ground, the offense is rolling. In Iowa, when he was rolling early, when he broke off the big 40-yard touchdown run, got them on the board, it was because he was doing great. If you look at the entire team, they run through Wilson. He sets up the pass because he's running the ball so well. That's what sets it up. Okay, if you're going to talk about one guy or one person who leads the team, I mean, other than the coaches, you mentioned Seth Luttrell, you mentioned Graham Harrell, they're great. But as far as players, Jeffrey Wilson is the guy to watch.
Collegiate and professional football, it goes to show you who has a good quarterback and who doesn't.
Yep.
And at University of North Texas, we have someone who's better than Fine, and his name is Mason Fine. This guy, touchdown to interceptions, he's 11-4. He's 2nd in Conference USA in yardage with 1,442 already.
Yep.
He averages almost 300 yards per game with a guy in the backfield like Jeffrey Wilson, and he's doing all of this while completing 60% of his passes.
Yeah.
When you look at college football, you need a quarterback to get you through some games because there are teams that will be able to stop the run. If a quarterback can make those throws, you always give yourself a chance to win, and that's what North Texas has in Mason Fine.
And I couldn't agree more with both of the guys. And like I said, I think this is such a trifecta of Mason Fine, Jalen Guyton, and Jeffrey Wilson. But I'm going to agree with Drake on this one. I mean, it has been shown time and time again, each time this season, with all the games that we've played, if Jeffrey Wilson is feeling it, if that guy has the ball in his hands, we win those games. Those are games that we win. Those are games that we're very successful in. And it's a great time to be a North Texas Mean Green,
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch. This is an offense that leads the entire conference in those categories. Is it really the Seth Luttrell factor so far, what he's been able to do from year 1 now to year 2? The new Denton era is underway, guys.
I mean, let's go with this stat just alone. 38.8 points is what the Mean Green are averaging this year. If you look back just 2 seasons ago, we were averaging 24.8. That's a 10-point jump under Seth Luttrell in year 2. I mean, if we keep jumping that much, I mean, we are easily going to be the best team, or the best offense, I should say, in Conference USA. It's 666 yards rushing for Jeffrey Wilson alone. You got 9 total touchdowns with this guy. He's who you're running it through. But also Mason Fine's taken a gigantic step. I mean, you mentioned it since last year. So if we keep getting better every year, I mean, Seth Luttrell, who knows how far he'll take us.
Yeah, we've got 24 offensive touchdowns already through the year. That is 2nd most in Conference USA, only to FAU and Lane Kiffin and Last Chance Kiffin over there.
All the way in Florida.
And so we're averaging 510 yards a game. When you think about how much this offense has improved, like Drake said, over a 2-year span in such little time, it is incredible. The 510 yards is by far the best in Conference USA. The 2nd best is 478 against UTSA, who will be playing tonight.
And really overall, it's been outstanding to see what the offense has done from year 1 to year 2 now between the Seth Luttrell era and what they've been able to do. But coming up next here on Mean Green Game Day, we're going to power rank some of the teams in the Conference USA. We'll also go down the row and preview North Texas and UTSA as well, and then the prediction segment, of course. But coming up next, we're going to play the role of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee with some blind resumes, and we'll pick which teams decide or should and deserve to be in that college football playoff. Coming up next on Mean Green Game Day.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
I'll be right back.
Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it. No.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Give me back!
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Welcome back to Mean Green Game Day. We're here. We're going to look at some blind resumes between two of the top teams in the conference, or not in the conference, but in the entire nation of college football. And we're going to decide which ones deserve to be in that college football playoff at the end of the season. Next week, the first rankings between the College Football Playoff Committee, and those will be released just down the road at Grapevine, or in Grapevine at the Gaylord Texan, I believe, a big hotel down the road. That's where they do all their rankings and stuff like that. But first, let's kind of look through some of these teams. And first off, just kind of give me who has impressed you so far throughout the entire nation of college football. Who's been good, who's been bad for you?
I think one team that's really not being talked about because maybe the West Coast bias, people forgot that they made it last year, Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, they're rolling right now. They got a good defense. You know, another year under Coach Peterson coming from Boise State. Washington is the team to beat. I mean, they were just there last year. They played Bama pretty well in the first half, and it's Alabama, you know. So I think they got a rough hand last year. I think they shouldn't have to go against Bama again first round of the playoff this year if they win out. They're going to be tested. It's a Pac-12 team, but I think Washington needs a little bit more attention.
Yeah.
Speaking of rolling, I would be remiss if I talked about successful football programs and did not mention the greatness. That is the Alabama Crimson
Okay,
Tide.
Here
Stephen A.
we
Smith,
go
calm
again.
down.
These guys
It only took the second block.
that Nick Saban gets from the ages of 18 to 21 are studs. The way St. Nick puts it together
Oh my
and
Lord.
builds such a program that is just a machine that has basically just demolished the rest of the SEC. And the way that he does it, it's like we forget about Alabama day in and day out, every year.
You got to stop watching First Take. Okay?
No,
you got to stop watching.
No, I read a book. Kyle, you know it.
Yeah, Saban.
I read a book on Nick
you
Saban, and
definitely
I am
did.
truly a believer now in the process. I believe it.
If there's two things, you can always be guaranteed that Kennedy's going to go off on Alabama and LeBron James. So let's not get into basketball
Greatest
before
things
this
I've
man.
ever seen.
Oh,
Hey,
goodness.
can I
Greatest
just
things I've
rebuttal
ever
this
seen.
man real quick? When Alabama goes against a quarterback that can scramble and can pass outside the pocket, they struggle. Even last week against A&M, and I don't think A&M's very good at all. They gave them a little bit of a test. I mean, just because they had a quarterback that can run. If you put a quarterback that can run against that defense, all of a sudden it's not such a machine as you put it. They're going against SEC, which is not as strong this year. I don't believe it. I'm not going to believe your little Alabama sipping the Kool-Aid Crimson Tide.
That is true, Drake. But I want
Just
you
gonna throw it
to
out
look
there.
at this. You can only name about 2 or 3 teams or players that have beaten Alabama more than once. Think about that. Johnny Manziel got him one time. Next time Nick Saban says, you know what? Yeah, I got something for you, Johnny.
And they're a good team.
I got something
and
for you.
they're going to make the playoff, and they're a good team. I get it, but I'm just
sick
saying.
of seeing them at the top. I'm
Thank
cutting
you.
this off
Thank
right
you.
now.
Thank
We're
you.
going to go the top two. There's two teams that actually have really impressed me this year. One of which being Georgia. I think they're very underrated. I mean, obviously they're number 4. They're properly rated, but watch for them to surprise you. The second one I've got here is TCU, and I'll tell you why. It's because in the Big 12, we went into this year thinking Oklahoma and Okie State were going to run the Big 12 like no other, and here we are. That TCU is 5-0. They're going over to Kansas State today. You know, I think that game's happening right now. They are very impressive. Kenny Hill looked crazy good last weekend against West Virginia, which was a pretty good matchup. And College Game Day was there. You know, I think TCU has something. If they might be that team to get into the playoffs because they are a Big 12 team.
You look at really a lot of these teams side by side. Let's take a look at that real fast. This is the first one that we're going to look at, and the statistics between the two of them actually pretty darn similar. You have one side that are actually really both teams putting up quite a bit of numbers on offense. Both teams have a really good quarterback, and if we'll reveal this here, it's Alabama and TCU. Both of these two teams statistically, Pickle just said it, of course Kennedy went on his rant as well. Both of these teams statistically are right neck and neck in terms of the statistics that they're going to put up. Right now, if you had to choose, I bet both of these teams could potentially be in that playoff race, at least right now. Of course, there's a lot of season left to go, and the rankings will change every single week. But right now, you've got to put TCU and Alabama in the same category.
I mean, let's put TCU up against quality offense.
It's true.
Because that defense looked bad against West Virginia.
Yeah.
I mean, that secondary was awful, horrid. They made a great stop on the last drive, but if it wasn't for that, we might have had an upset alert at TCU in Fort Worth, okay? So, I mean, I love the Big 12. I'm hanging on and hoping someone from the Big 12 can make the college football playoff and stir it up. I was hoping Oklahoma would be that team.
Yeah.
I still think Oklahoma can be that team. Let's see how they go against TCU, and that'll be the real winner, and then I can talk about who can take on Bama, because as much as I hate to admit it, Kendi, you're right. Bama is a very good team. I just don't really want to talk about them because I'm tired of talking about them, and I don't think they're that great this year. I think they are beatable. There's some chinks in the armor.
Man, he looks like he's offended.
I am offended. But, you know, to Pickle's point, I won't talk about Alabama, but I'll talk about a disciple under Nick Saban, Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
What he's done at Georgia,
Absolutely.
I love Georgia. They've already beaten 2 ranked teams.
Yeah.
In Mississippi State, they throttled Mississippi State.
And now, I don't want to cut you off here, but in the truck, can we put up the graphic with Georgia compared with Clemson? Now, it's not necessarily as big. Of course, Clemson dropped a game last night to Syracuse, so that's a pretty big loss that might knock them out of this conversation, but I do want to see those Georgia stats as well. Now, continue. Sorry.
They throttled Mississippi State 31-3, and they beat a Notre Dame team that's, you know, on the verge of being out of the top 25, but still a top 25 team. They beat them 21-19. And these past 2 games, they've had back-to-back 40-point games against Tennessee and Vandy.
Yeah.
When you look at their schedule and who they played, you say that Georgia has played good competition and has come out on top in every game. I'm liking Nick Chubb. I like the offense. I'm high on Georgia.
Well, and I'm going to say with Georgia, too, they remind me in the Mean Green in the way that they kind of have some sort of a trifecta. I mean, they've got their quarterback, they've got Nick Chubb at running back, their wide receiver. They have one of those, their numbers, their stats might not be as impressive, say, as a Penn State or as an Alabama or anything like that. However, if you are able to divide that into 3, you see that their total offense is incredibly impressive on top of having a fairly good defense. I think Georgia is a slept-on team right now that needs to be awoken.
And watch out, Kirby Smart,
Yep.
a guy who's under Nick Saban, who historically coaches under Nick Saban tend to not do well against Nick Saban.
Exactly.
But this guy was, I mean, the best defensive coordinator arguably that Nick Saban's ever had.
Yep.
So this guy knows some chinks in the armor of
Accurate.
that Bama defense I was talking about. So if there's a team that can beat Bama and dethrone them and keep them from going to another college football playoff, it's Georgia.
So
and
we're
you look
rooting
at
for Georgia.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you also look at recruiting-wise. Georgia just picked up the #1 recruit overall in the 2018 class. So watch out for that. There's another recruit coming for Georgia to try and bring some more, I guess, preeminence and some prominence to that entire program. But real quick, one more matchup I want to look at really quickly. Oklahoma and USC compared to statistically. Both teams have 1 loss. Of course, Oklahoma just down the road taking on the Texas Longhorns. They're up in that game last time we checked by 17, I believe. It was 17-0, and Texas was backed up against their own goal line. But overall, Oklahoma, USC, both teams have a really good quarterback who started the year in a Heisman talk, and then now they've since dropped a game there.
But if you look at the quarterback situation, I think that kind of explains the teams. Darnold's still turning over the ball, and that was the highest. Like, I thought Sam Darnold was winning that Heisman in our first episode. That's not the case. The guy has a really big problem turning over the ball, fumbling, and throwing interceptions. But Baker Mayfield, on the other hand, OU may be struggling on defense, but Mayfield's having no problem scoring on offense. He destroyed the Iowa State defense.
Yeah.
But Baker Mayfield did great. But Baker Mayfield did great. And USC, they lost to Washington State, who Washington State, we saw them get killed by California last night.
Yeah,
so we're talking about a team who's got a chance to break in the top 10. It's Oklahoma.
That was an embarrassing loss for Washington State last night overall.
I agree. I think Oklahoma, Drake made all of the major points. They have the better team.
Yeah.
And Baker Mayfield is playing like the better collegiate quarterback. Now, when we go into professional, Sam Darnold.
It's a completely different story there. Exactly.
Yeah, I like a West Coast guy, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we will.
I agree. Oklahoma is the better team, and they do deserve to be in the top 10.
They lost Iowa
But
State.
looking at going forward now, we're going to actually go to a break really quickly here. We're going to, on the other side of the break, break down Conference USA. We'll power rank some of the top teams in the entire conference, and maybe we'll see where North Texas lands on that list, as they do lead the Conference USA West as we stand right now. Coming up next on Mean Green Game Day.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S.
All right.
never gets eaten.
40%.
That's almost start doing
half
this.
the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
Here we go. We're gonna go out there in the rain. It's gonna get wet. All right, here we go. Oh, look at the rain. Okay, quick. Oh yeah, yes. So much fun. Mwah. We're getting so wet. Oh,
How's your hair? Is it pretty?
Daddy.
It's pretty.
And welcome back here to Mean Green Game Day, as we are just a couple minutes away from kickoff between the UTSA Roadrunners and the North Texas Mean Green here from Apogee Stadium. Kyle Yeomans alongside Drake Lawson, Kennedy Miller, and Ashley Bickle up here at the desk. It's a hot, windy afternoon, but overall a pink out for North Texas today. Of course, October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so players will be sporting some pink towels. This one I actually grabbed from a high school game last night.
Pink pom-poms in the stadium.
Yeah, pink. There you go. Pink pom-poms being given out as well. But one big thing about this game, other than the pink that's going to be shown, and really the rivalry and the prominence that's at stake for this in-state rivalry between these two squads, is really some positioning in the Conference USA. North Texas coming in 2-0 in conference play for the first time since 2003, I believe. And in that year, they ended up winning a bowl game, the New Orleans Bowl against Cincinnati. 21-17 was the final score of that game. They also beat Baylor pretty bad, a team that UTSA handled a couple weeks ago down in Waco. But overall, let's look at really the Conference USA as a whole. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to tell me who's the biggest surprise so far for you in the CUSA this year.
I mean, I got no choice but to say North Texas. I mean, am I right? I mean, they're the top of the rankings in our division. They're undefeated so far in conference play. Yes, one of them was against a UAB team, but UAB actually turned out to not be so bad.
Yeah.
And also going on the road, beating Southern Miss like they did. They look like a strong team right now. I think a lot of people didn't expect us to be there. I think we expected it, but as far as an entire conference surprise, we are North Texas.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to harp off what you just said on who we beat. This UAB team, for a team that's just restarting a football program, these guys are competitive. They're competing in every game, and these guys look like they're going to be a Conference USA premier threat for the years to come. I'm rolling with UAB.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to agree with Drake. I loved what he said about we expected to be good, but I think the conference slept on us. So obviously North Texas, but one other one that I feel like is fairly reasonable to say, FAU. Now, you know, we didn't know until, I mean, way later on in the season that Lane Kiffin was going to come down to a Conference USA team. So I think those two, and which rightfully so, they're the two leaders in the conferences right now, are the two biggest surprise.
And one big thing that you gotta have to look at this weekend specifically, this is a UAB team that's playing a Middle Tennessee team at home, a team that doesn't have Brent Stockstill. So they're without their number one quarterback. UAB has the advantage, even though they are the underdog in that ball game. A couple of the College Game Day guys this morning ended up giving UAB the super dog pick of the afternoon. I think UAB could potentially leave this Saturday with 4 wins, and then they also get UTEP and Old Dominion at home. Those are two teams that are very beatable for a UAB team that could potentially be bowl eligible their first year back with the program.
The beauty of that is North Texas beat them.
That's very true. In good fashion, it was a high-scoring game just a couple weeks ago, so that was outstanding. Yeah, Trevor Moore, Josh Conrad somewhere just looking up to the sky and thanking Trevor Moore. But other than that, let's look at the opposite side. Who's been the biggest letdown for you guys in Conference USA this season?
I think it's Rice. I mean, personally, just because of how bad they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they are 1-5. I know it was like historically bad in that first game of the year against Stanford. I mean, they just got blown out of the water against a Stanford team that's good, but I mean, are they that good to kill you like that in Australia? But I think they're really bad. 1-5. They're the biggest disappointment in Conference USA.
I'm rolling with Western Kentucky.
Okay.
As long as I've been enrolled in North Texas, we've known Western Kentucky to be the powerhouse in Conference USA. These guys won multiple Conference USA championships. They're going to Western Kentucky is no friendly place to play if you're an opponent. And, these guys lost to Louisiana Tech 23-22, and then just barely beating UTEP, a team that is 0-6, 15-14.
Yeah.
It's a little underwhelming for me considering how good Western Kentucky has been over the years.
And I could not agree. I think you saw just about every point I had. Western Kentucky has been my biggest disappointment this year, which great for the Mean Green. I don't mind that at all. But like Kennedy said, Western Kentucky is known to be one of those powerhouses in Conference USA. It's always them and La Tech in the conference championship. Stuff is starting to change this year, but I mean, they lost their star quarterback that they had for the past 4 years, and now they have nothing. It really shows that there was one player that they were really relying on to be this powerhouse of a school, and now once he left, they're not as special as everyone thought.
Well, you look at both of those programs, Rice and Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky losing their head coach last year as well. He's gone. He's moved on to bigger, better things. And then you look at Rice. That's a young quarterback in there as well. True sophomore in the form of Sam Glazman out of Waco, another Texas kid down the road. But he's been kind of thrown in the mix really early on. So both of those teams going through quite a bit of change. Now, moving on from there, we talked about who impressed you the most. So other than who's impressed you the most, let's power rank some of these top 3 teams in Conference USA. Drake, start us off.
I think it's, we talked about Florida Atlantic. I think that as far as like overall record and how they've looked with Lane Kiffin, I give them the edge to number 1. Number 2, Marshall's looked very good this year out of that division. But number 3, I got to put the Mean Green.
All right.
I mean, I think the winner of tonight will take over that spot of number 3.
Yeah.
So if UTSA comes in here and beats us, they take over number 3. They move to the top of Conference USA as far as championship outlook. The division's going to run through San Antonio. But if we get a win, the division will run through Denton, and that's a big win for us tonight. I can't express how big this game is.
Yeah.
I am torn on. I have a 1A and 1B, I guess I'd say.
Okay.
UNT and UTSA look like the 2 front runners of the division for me. I think both teams are sound, fundamentally sound, and they're the 2 best teams in the conference. And my 3rd team is FAU. I love what Lane Kiffin is doing. Brought a lot of last chance you guys, if anybody watched the documentary. And we know where Lane Kiffin came from. Historically, he hasn't been a good coach. But
2 blocks in a row.
He comes out and says, I've never learned so much under one head coach. Never learned how to be so detail-oriented, how to make sure nothing goes wrong. You know who it's under. I won't even say the name.
You don't need
go
to.
ahead. Go ahead, Ashley.
Making sure nothing goes wrong. Well, when he left the program, they lost the national championship the next game. So what happened there?
Let's move on.
All right, well, I guess that's my cue to go. My power ranking, I'm going to go pretty close to Drake right here. FAU's number 1 right now. I think, Kiffin has done an amazing job there. Not only is the hype around them so big right now, he's making national hype too by tweeting St. Nick. Again, I always got to put air quotes on that. I'm going North Texas in number 2 right now. And if they can get this win here tonight, they stay there. If not, are pushing up on FAU. And then the last one is going to be Marshall. I think that Marshall's one of those teams that we haven't heard much about. They don't have those key players like we do who are number 1 in the stats. They don't have the FAU players who are number 1 in the stat line, like Jeffrey Wilson, like Jaden Guyton. But they are ones that you can't sleep on because they'll come up and get you when you least expect it.
it's interesting. A couple of the teams that I didn't hear in any of these questions, Louisiana Tech, a perennial power every year, year in and year out for the Conference USA, and Southern Miss as well. I mean, Southern Miss beat this UTSA team last week, and then, of course, North Texas took care of business in Southern Miss a couple weeks ago and a big win on their half. So a couple different teams and maybe a little shift in the power in the Conference USA beginning to happen. And when we come back, we'll also see what kind of power that Ren Baker had after an ESPN fiasco on a commercial ended up sparking a little bit of controversy between the Mean Green and ESPN last week. We'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. Coming up next on Mean Green Game Day.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
I rescued Toast from a shelter in 2011. I love Toast because she's a lazy diva. Toast does whatever she wants, obviously. She's sleeping right now. She's an epic snuggler. She's so comforting. She's so loving. Toast makes me laugh. When I walked into the shelter, I knew right then that she was special.
I understand. I know it's not your typical resume.
Okay, well.
But candidate. But I've been working double shifts just to pay for books. I've been raising my 2 little brothers. I'm determined, driven, motivated. Isn't that what you're looking for?
Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org.
Just last week, North Texas found themselves in the middle of a controversy after ESPN ran an ad with their name, Mean Green, attached to another university. We asked Athletic Director Ren Baker and some of the players what they thought about the Mean Green fiasco. If you have ever attended a North Texas football game, then you know how important the Mean Green name is. It's been a part of our culture since the late 1960s, when the football team's defense was nicknamed the Mean Green. And of course, that defense was led by Pro Football Hall of Famer Joe Green. Since then, the North Texas football team embraced the name and has been widely known as the Mean Green of the football world. That was until ESPN ran an ad last week with this name representing Michigan State.
After dinner, we cleaned up a little bit, put our girls to bed, and Heather and I were sitting there watching TV and started getting a couple of emails and texts about an ESPN commercial promoting the Michigan State game, and when they flashed Michigan State up there, they put Mean Green.
After Athletic Director Ren Baker saw the ad, he was quick to send out this tweet, saying the term Mean Green was trademarked and a cease and desist letter was on the way.
Really just, kind of letting our fan base know, like, hey, we're on top of it, a little bit, tongue-in-cheek, but also at the same time saying, yeah, we're not going to, let that go.
While the ad was pulled and both ESPN and Michigan State apologized, some North Texas players took notice.
As a team, we like that. We knowing our AD has our back, we like that, and we definitely respect that.
I was shocked, just by seeing that and just seeing, Mr. Baker just tweeting and, helping out for us, for our brand and everything. I was just like, that's my guy.
I didn't expect Mr. Baker to jump on it like that. He was all over it, and I was excited that he just brought so much energy and just, jumped at it when he could. And, it's all solved. And, I'm glad he took up for us like that.
While the dispute was settled quickly, the Mean Green want to make sure this doesn't happen again, because Mean Green is much more than a name, it's a lifestyle.
To me, Mean Green is just like, it's a mindset. Like, you have to play tough every snap, every down, give 100% effort like Mean Joe Green did.
We just want to live up to it. We want to be physical, we want to be mean, we want to be nasty out there on the football field, so we take that to pride.
It's helped extend our brand and our brand awareness, and people now know that may not have known that North Texas is the Mean Green, and they're the only school with the rights to that phrase.
The University of North Texas has been sporting that Mean Green nickname ever since the late 1960s. And guys, well, as we're up here being professionals and trying to stay a little unbiased, we're also students here at the University of North Texas. So kind of give me real quick, just what does the Mean Green name mean to you guys?
Well, I mean, the first thing is you don't often get to call something unique, because that means one of a kind, and sometimes unique's misused. But I think in this situation, we really are unique in the fact that we are named the Mean Green. A school named after a color. I mean, can you guys name anything else? I mean, people don't really know what a Mean Green is, but we do. I mean, we know it's an attitude, it's a culture. It's been inspired since Mean Joe Green, obviously in the 1960s. Didn't exactly came from him, came from the defense. Yeah. But I mean, it's just something that the campus is known by, and it's just something really special. I think we embrace that name, and when we get rolling, everyone kind of refers to us not as UNT, not as North Texas, but as, how's the Mean Green doing? Yeah. How are the Mean Green? And I think something that's really special.
I completely agree with you, Drake. It's very unique, and it's just something about an extra oomph when you can add an adjective next to your name, the Fighting Irish, Fighting Illini. How about the Mean Green? Right. And like Drake said, when the team is contending, it's a lot of names, but it's not a lot more intimidating than, oh, we have to play the Mean Green. Not just the green, but they're pretty mean with it too, and it rhymes.
That's
and
true.
It rhymes. That's what's special for me.
And then, I think, like you said, we are students. We chose to come to this university, and I mean, it's no secret. I work for the athletic department. People say Miss Mean Green all the time. Like, I love the Mean Green so much, but I'll tell you why. Every summer we have the orientations that come through with the freshmen, and the parents come in and they wear shirts that say Mean Green Family. And I have the opportunity to talk to the parents, and I tell them, welcome into the family. And I think that's what I love about the Mean Green is it's not just the student body. It's not just the football team. It incorporates this entire university, and it incorporates fans and parents and grandparents. And it's a family, and I mean, you can't take that away. I got goosebumps. You can't take that away from us.
It's always a lot of fun to be able to rally around a certain battle cry, a nickname, just something that really just, like you said, gives you goosebumps whenever you think about it, and you're able to associate yourself with that. And Ren Baker really stepped up and was able to protect that. He saw it on an ESPN commercial, like Drake said, in the package with Michigan State, and Michigan State didn't do anything wrong, but even they, after the whole thing, came back and apologized straight to our athletic department.
And I think that's what's really cool about this whole thing is even in a bye week, we got a lot of attention just because our athletic director is that cool. You heard the players in that video that we showed. They were really into it. They showed that our athletic director has our back. He's one of us, and he loves our name as well. And I think that's just something really special about this North Texas team.
And then on top of that, I don't know if you saw, even the next week, someone said something about a Mean Green player or something that didn't have to do with the University of North Texas, and it was on NBC5 or something like that. He tweeted it and put the little emoji eyes and the warning sign, like, whoa, 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 you better watch out. He is on it. He is so active on social media, on Twitter, and it really does mean something that he can come in a first-year setting, in a second-year setting, and already feel that love of the Mean Green.
And it's a lot of fun just to be able to be around this kind of thing. It's such a tight-knit community here in Denton. And of course, Ren Baker, a friend of the show. He's been on our show before. He loves watching. And hopefully, Ren, hey, if you're watching right now, thank you for everything. It's been a lot of fun, and great job standing up for that Mean Green name. But when we come back, we're going to talk about those Mean Green as they take on the UTSA Roadrunners in just a little bit here at Apogee Stadium. In-state rivalry rekindled, and we'll preview it coming up next here on Mean Green Game Day.
I'll be right back. Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Hey, God, no.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Give me back!
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to SaveTheFood.com.
As you can see there, a big win for North Texas the last time they were in this building, a win over UAB. Well, now they return back home to take on their bitter rival, in-state rival, the UTSA Roadrunners. We are just under 80 minutes until first kick here in Denton. Once again, the Mean Green Game Day crew, Kyle Yeomans, Drake Lawson, Kennedy Miller, and Ashley Pickle. Guys, let's break down this matchup. It's a game that North Texas really needs to win, and one that really a lot of people think might be one of the biggest games in this stadium's history. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but first let's break down some of the X's and O's. UTSA leads the series 3-1 between the two teams. The first meeting back in 2013. UTSA, a younger program, but they've had some success against the Mean Green so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of strange. You know, back whenever we first met, the North Texas was trying to get in the Conference USA Championship.
Yeah.
UTSA ruins that. But another interesting matchup from my freshman year is whenever North Texas did not win a single game, UTSA comes in here. Our one victory of the season
I was so hyped
was beating UTSA. We got to light the tower. I remember that was a great moment.
It was on Halloween, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, it was.
yeah, it was.
It was fantastic.
Yep.
So it's kind of weird. This, you know, it's kind of like the Redskins, Cowboys. A little bit of the one loss they'll get in the entire year will be against this team. You know, they kind of play the upset. But what's strange about this matchup is both teams are good. I don't know if we can name a time when both of these teams were fighting to go for the top of the division.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting matchup now, and this is where rivalries are born. I can't express how big and awesome this game is going to be.
Yeah.
And you know, they're not just good; they're leaders of the conference. You look at the statistics. UTSA is #1 in a multitude of categories: team passing efficiency, time of possession, first downs, third down conversion percentages. These are stats that win you games. Those grinded out games that you need to win games. UTSA is leading those, and North Texas will have to do something to reverse that coming tonight. Yeah.
And like Drake said, when's the last time we can name that both of these two teams met up and they were both such good teams, such highly ranked at the beginning? But I love what he said about rivalries. He's so right. This is where rivalries are made, and this has already been. I mean, when I look on the schedule and I see that UTSA is coming to Apogee to play, I got hyped. You know, it was there last year. That's one of those you just don't want to miss because it really can. It can go either way, and that's the heart and soul of a rivalry game, is hoping that, you know, well, this should happen, but will it? Who knows?
Both programs have second-year head coaches that have already seen success as soon as they've stepped on campus. Frank Wilson for UTSA and, of course, Seth Luttrell for the Mean Green. Of course, these two teams met last year down in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome. 31-17 was the final score, and that was when UTSA won that matchup. They haven't been back here since that one game that North Texas won against the Roadrunners in their 1-11 season, their only win of the entire year that year. But we got a chance to make a Twitter poll this week, and I wanted to kind of poll some of the North Texas fans. We asked, is this the biggest game in Apogee Stadium history? And with it was actually a pretty close race between two different games, one of which is tonight's game against UTSA. The other one was a Halloween win against Rice back in 2013, which was a big win, a goal line stand to win that ball game and to get us into bowl eligibility for the first time since the early 2000s. But I'm going to ask you guys that same question. Is this the biggest game in the history of the young life of Apogee Stadium?
It's the biggest game in recent memory. I mean, as far as since I've been here, since I've been around the campus and the feel of the campus, I haven't ever felt it quite like this. Because you got Channel 11, you got local big market DFW TV stations coming into the press conference because they want to hear what Seth Luttrell has to say. No longer SMU, TCU only getting attention. Let's get North Texas involved. We want to hear what this #1 ranked football team has to say about everything. That's awesome. That's fantastic. And the only way you continue that is if you beat a team like UTSA and continue to stay at the top of the division. And this is their chance to prove that they're that kind of a team.
When I first came here on campus and saw this beautiful stadium, I said, I just want it to be one game while I'm in school that it's for like a conference seeding. It's a big game. And my junior year, I finally get it against UTSA. These two schools are like #1 and #2. They're competing. It's a high-stakes game. You see, it's a lot of people back here tailgating behind us. This is a big game, and I'm excited for the atmosphere that's going to be here tonight. Hopefully, we can light the tower.
And I 110% think that it's the biggest game in this history of the stadium in the recent years. Like Dre said, since we've been here, we started out. I mean, most all of us are around the same age. Started out, we were 1-9 on this season. Now last year we made it to a bowl game through APR. This game is huge. We are at the top of that Conference USA leaderboard. It's such a good game to be here. Everyone was hyped. I went to Walmart this morning and there were mean green shirts everywhere. When do you go somewhere and didn't just see this massive green? This game today is hype. It's hyped on social media. Ren Baker, the marketing department. Everything. This is the game that we are going to make those stands be completely full. And you've seen the hashtag Pack Apogee, man. That's today.
It's been a lot of fun just seeing the lead up until this game. And one of the former crew members and one of the former on-air talent for Mean Green Game Day, Brady Keene, published a great article in the NT Daily saying, hey, this is a game that shows we're turning the corner as a program. It shows that we're not the same North Texas team that people have been disappointed year in and year out with. This is a chance for Seth Luttrell to get on the record and say, hey, we're here and we're here to stay. And that could be a lot of fun to watch if North Texas can pull it out on their home turf. Now let's look at this UTSA team really quickly. What do you think about what the Roadrunners have been able to do coming in 3-1? They did lose their last matchup last week against a Southern Miss team that North Texas ended up beating a couple weeks ago. North Texas, of course, coming off that bye week. But what do you think about the Roadrunners?
This UTSA team is all about defense, defense, defense. They rank basically 1 or 2 in every single statistical category in Conference USA. They actually rank 9th in all of FBS and total defense. They're averaging opponents to 269.8 yards. That's what they're holding the opponents down to for an average. That's incredible. Now, if there is a chink in the armor, I think it's a little bit on the rushing defense because passing-wise, they really have it shut down. But rushing defense, I mean, that's where the battle will be won. Can Jeffrey Wilson, can they establish a run against this tough UTSA defense? Because if they do that, I think the North Texas can come away with a victory. But they've got to establish a run against this defense.
I always talk about it. I think time of possession will be key.
Huge.
Against Southern Miss 2 weeks ago, North Texas held the ball for 36 minutes. This UTSA defense is #1 in third down percentage. Opponents only get 18% of third down completions against UTSA. You cannot have 3 and outs against this UTSA defense and expect to win the game. You must stay on the field and you must score touchdowns instead of getting field goals.
And then, see, Drake talked a whole lot about the defensive side of it, and UTSA is known to be a defensive team, but going over into the offense, I mean, they are second in Conference USA for total number of yards in offense, right behind us. So, I mean, if we're talking about that, they lost to Southern Miss last week. They had 469 total yards of offense, and 367 of them were in on-air passing. I mean, we have to Ashton Preston, Keyshawn McClain, Nate Brooks, they better be ready today because they are going to have to stop those deep balls if they're ready. So for them, it's going to be their rush defense stopping Jeffrey Wilson. For us, it's going to be our defensive backs being aware and ready to get those picks, because those turnovers are what's going to win this game in a rivalry like today.
And it wouldn't be anything better for a UTSA team to come into North Texas, give them their first conference loss of the season, and put them right back to square one as they head into the rest of that conference schedule. But when we come back, we're going to predict some of the nation's top matchups. And, well, Ashley Pickle put on the scrappy head last time. Will she do it again? We'll see in just a little bit, coming up after the break here on Mean Green Game Day.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
It's already been a crazy week of college football. Syracuse downing Clemson last night, and then, of course, Cal taking out top 10 Washington State as well. Let's see what other games could potentially end up in big upsets like that one. We're going to predict some of the nation's top matchups right now here on Mean Green Game Day. Well, let's start off in the Big Ten. Ohio State on the road taking on Nebraska in Lincoln. I have the Buckeyes and Urban Meyer pulling out a win, probably a pretty big one, but don't sleep on that Nebraska team.
Ohio State. I'm not going to sleep on Nebraska, but ever since that Oklahoma loss, they've seemed like they've had a little bit more fire under them. Yeah. Urban Meyer's going to get it done. Ohio State wins, and I think they roll.
I'm sleeping on Kyle because
Okay.
I'm rolling with Ohio State as well.
Just wanted to make sure.
I think the Buckeyes are the better coach team. I think they have the better talent, better personnel. I mean, you look, a lot of people, doubted Ohio State after they lost to Oklahoma, and I think they sold them too short because of a bad performance against a very good OU team. This Ohio State team is still one of the top 10 teams in college football, in my opinion, and I think they'll show that tonight. Yeah.
And Ohio State's ranked number 9. Nebraska's not ranked. I mean, like you said, Nebraska, the Cornhuskers are not someone to sleep on at all, but in this specific matchup, I think Ohio State's going to take it fairly easily.
Yeah. And then looking at the Pac-12 as well, you have Utah at USC. USC, a team that's been struggling as of late. Sam Darnold not necessarily looking like the Heisman candidate that he was early on. He's still been playing well, but with the loss and with the struggling of the team, he's kind of been taken a little bit down a peg in that rankings. But I actually have the Utes going on the road and beating USC in LA. Utah has not won a game in Los Angeles in over 100 years. It's been a long time since Utah's won in that city. I think that streak ends today.
I think it stays. USC's going to win. And Sam Darnold has learned from his mistakes. He's come out, he's admitted, hey, I was wrong. I've been forcing the ball a little bit. USC's a good football team. There's a reason they were ranked that high. They're going to prove some people wrong today when they beat Utah, not going away, but they're going to beat Utah, USC.
I'm rolling with the #1 pick in the draft. Yeah. I'm rolling with Sam Darnold. Yep. I mean, the guy is a West Coast kid. He's playing at home.
Are you saying Jeffrey Wilson's not the #1 pick in the draft, Kennedy?
For right now. Let's see a combine.
Okay.
Let's see a combine. But for right now, Sam Darnold is incredible. Matt Leinart talked about it before the season started. This guy's a quarterback who's never actually practiced being a quarterback. He was a baseball player. Yeah. He just kind of took on playing football because he could throw the ball. He's getting better every game. He's learning from his mistakes. Like Drake said, he admitted to it. As the year progresses, I think Sam Darnold is going to be really good, and I'm predicting USC to win tonight.
This is a big Pac-12 South matchup. These are 1 and 2. They're probably going to be the two teams that end up 1 and 2 in that Pac-12 South. I'm going to go with USC on this one. Utah has a great defensive line that can really stop that rush, kind of like a UTSA type of D line, where they really do. They have it. It's very, very strong. But I feel like it's going to be very, very hard for the Utes to go on into LA in the Coliseum and pull out this one. I'm sticking with the 100-year whatever stat that was.
I guess I'm all by myself on that one. I'm okay over here, but you know who else is all by themselves? Florida and the uniforms that they are sporting today. I believe we have a graphic that we can put up here. Gator print uniforms for the Florida Gators. Unbelievable. Do you like them, Kenny?
I love them.
Oh, I'm not feeling
I'm not a fan.
So busy.
Not at
love
all.
'em.
Not even a fan. So we've got a little bit of a Florida Gator uniform themed graphic below us. Let's pick this game. I picked Florida and the Gators. Hopefully the gloves will show up at the bottom of the screen and show exactly how ugly these uniforms are, but they'll still play well.
I think Florida will never win these things again when A&M steps into the swamp and shuts them down. I mean, I think A&M's winning this game. A&M played good against your Bama team and Nick Saban and everything. We'll find out how good that Bama team is. I think they're pretty good. So I think, therefore, A&M can step in there, and they'll actually shut a lot of people up. They'll shut up the controversy for Sumlin, and I think they get a big win on the road.
I picked Florida because of their jerseys, easily.
I
mean, aren't those the most beautiful things you've ever? They really look like Gators. They really look like Gators. And I'm supposed to go inside Gainesville and beat a bunch of Gators looking at me? I don't think so. I think Florida's going to beat them. I'm not sold on A&M's quarterback just yet. They're coming off a loss to Alabama, and a game they could have won. Is that fair, Drake? Is that fair to say?
They could have won.
They could have won, but they didn't.
No,
they could have won, but they didn't.
And they're not that good. Florida's not that good either.
I'm rolling with Florida to win this game.
And then I'm going to pick Florida, not because of the uniforms. I think those are the ugliest things I've ever seen, but we'll go Gators here. Like you said, they're playing the Gators. They're down in the swamp. That atmosphere is insane. It's a SEC matchup. This will be a good game, I think, for SEC fans. Not any powerhouse that's going to come through and completely dish out everyone, but I think it'll be a fairly close matchup, but I'm going Gators on this one.
So we're starting to run out of time a little bit here, but I do want to get in this Pac-12 matchup. Oregon at Stanford. I have the Ducks moving on and beating the Cardinal on the road.
Wow.
I think Oregon's better than people think, and I think the Ducks are going to win.
I'm going to have to disagree with you again. I don't know. Maybe you know something I don't.
That's
but
okay.
Stanford is the much better team. They got a fantastic running back. People are sleeping on him. He's got, 1,000 yards rushing already in 5 games. Love.
He's outstanding.
He's a Heisman favorite, in my opinion, right now. With the way the college football is going, watch out for that guy and watch out for him tonight. Stanford's going to get a big victory.
I'm rolling with Stanford. They're at home. I think they're the more disciplined team. I love the atmosphere that Stanford always brings to the table. I got them easily winning over Oregon.
The trees are pulling this one out for the victory. Like you said, Bryce Levin's 118 carries for 1,240 yards. Holy cow.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Watch out for that Heisman.
It'll be a lot of fun to watch, but even more fun, it's this matchup between North Texas and UTSA, a game in which a lot of people in the area believe is the biggest game in the history of Apogee Stadium.
As you keep winning, the target on your back going to keep growing, you know what I'm saying? So every single week, and already UTSA is coming off a loss, so they're going to be looking to recoup that loss. They're going to be working hard in practice this week.
Right. I think UTSA losing, I think they're going to be they're going to be mad. The coach is going to be on them. They're going to come in with this week. They're going to prepare hard, especially it being a rivalry. They know what's at stake.
We got to be level-headed, and we got to know when we got get out of our character and when we can't. So we got to execute every play. And
there's definitely history there, and our players understand that, and it'll be a great challenge.
UTSA owns the series history. 1-3 are the Mean Green against the Roadrunners in the 4 previous matchups. Matchup number 5 might be the biggest of them all. And guys, I have the Mean Green pulling it out. I'm wearing the green shoes underneath the desk, the green tie, the green shirt. North Texas is going to win this game, and I'm going to throw in a bold prediction. I think it's going to be big.
Well, I'll take what you said about all the green stuff you're wearing. Who's the reason why we're going to win this game? Jeffrey Wilson. And that's why I've got my number 3 jersey on. Jeffrey Wilson, please come through. I'm supporting you. We've got your back. Win this game for us. Number 3, Jeffrey Wilson. He's going to come out big for us, and he's going to shut up the UTSA defense. Let's go.
Let's go.
Well,
that was outstanding.
I think we all had the same idea of wearing some type of North Texas apparel to pick North Texas to win. I put on some socks. However, my hamstrings are not that flexible, so I will not be raising my leg. But I will definitely say with my mouth, North Texas will win this game tonight.
Okay, we've got the green shoes, we've got the green jersey, we've got the green socks that are not quite flexible enough to show.
Not at all.
There.
Just believe us.
We've got the biggest game in Apogee Stadium history. I've got goosebumps. You asked if I was going to put on this scrappy head. Are you kidding me?
Put it on.
Of course, I will put on the scrappy head, and we're going to go Mean Green, baby.
Go Mean Green! So North Texas across the board, the Mean Green looking to stay atop the conference and get their 3rd straight win in conference play. 2-0 heading into today. Hopefully it'll be 3-0 in just a little bit. For everybody involved in this Mean Green Game Day broadcast, for Hunter Arnold, Tyler Parrish, for Quinn Arrington, I'm Kyle Yeomans, for Drake Lawson, Kennedy Miller, and Ashley Pickle. Thank you to everybody who pulled this off. North Texas, UTSA coming up in just a little bit. But until next week, we'll see you next time.